Hey guys, today on the show we're going to be looking at the Tascam DR100 Mark II, and we're going to also be looking at it compared with the H4n and kind of see what the differences are, and if for those who are looking for an audio recorder, why they might choose one over the other, so stay tuned. So before I do this review, I have to tell you guys I've been using the H4n for about 2 years now and have used it for everything I do when it comes to shooting. If I have to deal with audio, I have the H4n. I've recorded every single podcast with the H4n, which I have right up here. And it's performed well for me. There's definitely some things that have always driven me a little crazy. Some things they fixed with firmware, but other things it's just that unit and some of the weaknesses there. But recently I've had a chance to be using the Tascam DR100 Mark II. I haven't used the Mark I, but I've heard there's a lot of things they've updated. And at first I was a little skeptical, especially being an H4n user. But I have to tell you, I have been completely blown away with this little guy. And there's still a couple things that the H4n has over this unit. But there are some major pros to this guy. And I also have to say I am not an audio technician. I'm a shooter, and a lot of the time I'm asked to do audio with my shooting, or I'm doing this, shooting an interview on my own, or doing something like this where I have to do everything, audio, video, the whole 9 yards. So I'm coming at this more as a shooter who does a lot of audio. And so if you're an SLR or whatever kind of shooter and you end up having to do a lot of your audio, this is going to be geared more toward you. If you're an audio technician looking for the whole works, look for someone who is an audio technician who's reviewed it, or just get one and the manual has lots of great info. But I'm going to be covering some of the things I found compared to the H4n in a shooting environment. There are situations where I do only do audio, or I'm using these for a special project where I need to capture an older medium and digitize it. But for the most part, I'm using these as external recorders or backups for video use. When it comes to the actual sound quality of this unit, I really haven't found a big difference between this and the H4n. So I can't say that, one has superior quality to the other. It really comes down to features, a lot of what you're able to do with the different mics on the units. So I don't really think there's a big difference there. Both are going to do a great job, so I wouldn't get super nitpicky about one or the other. Both of these units are priced around the same, so there really isn't a upper hand on either one when it comes to price. So it really comes down to features and how you would be using it as a recorder in your situation. First thing you're going to notice is how drastically different the body is, and a lot of the buttons and the functions on this unit compared to the H4n. It's a little bigger than the H4n, but the body has more metal to it, and I think it would survive a fall better. I'm not going to do a drop test, but the H4n definitely has a plastickier, and I've heard some, stories of it falling apart. After a while, the door to get into the SD card chamber breaks, and there's definitely some weaknesses to its body. This thing's a tank. Its mics are well protected, and I think it would survive a fall a lot better. The other thing you'll notice is there's a lot more buttons on here, and the biggest thing for me is the dials. This thing has, on the front, it has a main dial for working through menus and some other functions, which is so much nicer than that tiny little thumb dial on the H4n for going through menus. This thing is a dream to go through menus. I always hate going into the menus on the H4n. Just got a clunkier feel, and on the H4n, the click wheel, you have to actually push it in to select different things, which is a little more difficult. This guy is much nicer, much smoother to work the dial. And one of the things that I think is the biggest plus to me on this unit is adjusting volume. On the back you have your mic gain, low, medium, and high. But on the side, there's this really nice dial, and it's very smooth to operate. Whereas us H4n users are used to the H4n's record level buttons, and there's just an up and a down. So you get steps when you click to adjust your audio level, whereas this guy, you can smoothly adjust it, and there are two wheels here, so you can adjust each of your inputs. So that is really, really nice, and one of the biggest features for me, when you're sitting there with this hooked up to a mic, you can just smoothly adjust the audio level as opposed to the H4n where you're clicking on it. The other thing I really like about this recorder over the H4n is some battery features it has. Not only can you add AA's, but you also have an area where you can stick in the DR100's rechargeable battery. And what's really cool is you can tell the unit which battery to use and then which one to act as a backup. So if one dies, the other one kicks in. And what's really nice is you can also remove the batteries while you're recording. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit record. And it may be a little quiet because I don't want to make a lot of noise when I take the battery out. It is recording, so I'm just going to take the back off of the unit. I've got two batteries in here, and I am going to take one out and take the other one out, and we're still recording. And that was set to have AA batteries be the main power source. So there you go. So this way, let's say you had to be in a wireless environment, you needed to do a longer recording session, you could pull out your batteries, put new ones in, and you'd be all set to go. On the H4n, a lot of people who use it know how stinking fast that thing burns through batteries. Depending on the batteries you use, obviously it's going to be different. But I have noticed that the DR100 seems to be a little more conservative with its battery use. I don't use the H4n in stamina mode, so I know that's going to be a little different. But I've been pretty impressed with the battery in here. They're saying you can get about 5 hours out of the built-in or the rechargeable battery. And then depending on the quality of your AA's, that can even extend it further. Another thing that the DR100 has over the H4n are its Omni mics. These are really cool. So let's say you're in a situation where you needed to be recording from multiple different angles, like a conference, a meeting or something. You could stick this on a table, switch it over to Omni mode, and you'd be able to record from multiple directions. It works really well. And it's just a nice tool to have in one unit if you are in a situation where you're going to need to be able to do that. Another feature the DR100 has over the H4n is that it also has a dedicated line out. So let's say you wanted to have XLRs coming into the unit, you have a microphone set up, and you also want to feed a 1/8" jack cable from this unit to your DSLR, and you want to monitor with headphones, of course. Well, now you can do that because this unit has a line out, so that would be a dedicated port going to your 5D, for instance, and then you have another jack that is only for your headphones. Whereas on the H4n, you'd have to get a splitter, and that's just one more connection to go through because it only has one line out. The line out and the headphones share a jack on the H4n, whereas this unit has two separate ports that you're going to be able to control. So I think that's really nice, and is another plus to using this unit over the H4n. Another small thing that makes a big difference that the DR100 has over the H4n is that the XLR ports have locks on them. It's really nice knowing that you stick the XLR in there, it locks in, and it's not going to come out. Whereas on the H4n, it can pull out. So that's something that is fairly small but makes a big difference, and is really nice with this unit over the H4n. So I've been praising this guy over the H4n, but there's definitely some stuff that the H4n does that is very, very handy, and depending on what you're going to be using your recorder for, could be the deal breaker between this unit and the H4n. So one of the things on the H4n is that you're able to do 4-channel. And what 4-channel is you're able to use the mics on the unit as well as an external microphone at the same time, and it will record to 2 different files. So a neat use for this might be if you're doing a wedding and you have a lapel up on the stage and you're getting that through your H4n, but you also want to get the entire room. You could use the mics on the H4n as well as doing that in 4-channel mode. The Tascam does not have 4-channel, so you will not be able to do that on this unit. Something else to consider is that the Tascam does not have a 1/4-inch jack, so a jack that might come off a guitar. So if you are going to be using this for a lot of 1/4-inch or music kind of oriented recording situations, the H4n is going to be a little better tuned to that kind of environment. So if you are doing things like weddings and a lot of receptions where you're working with DJs and all they're giving you is a 1/4-inch, you could adapt it down to an 1/8 inch or find a way to get an XLR for this unit. But it's really nice having that on the H4n for various situations. So all in all, if you are looking at the two, you really have to decide what's going to make or break it between these two. For me, I really think the Tascam is the clear winner between the way the buttons work, the dials. It's much easier to change settings while you're recording. I really like having the Omni mics. That's really nice because I can use that for certain situations outside of shooting, as well as the dedicated line out, so I can use my headphones while sending a signal to a camera and not having to split it. I also like the way the menu dial works. It's just makes things so much smoother and quicker. I like the XLR locks. Most everything I do is XLR, so I'm not using a lot of 1/4-inch, so that's why I would prefer this. And I really haven't used 4-channel as much because I don't do a lot of weddings and I'm not in a lot of situations where I need to have multiple different ways to capture simultaneously. I suppose if you really wanted this unit but still really kind of wanted a 4-channel, something you might want to consider is getting getting this unit as well as like an H1 that you could use separate. So you could use 2 recorders. But I really think this is the clear winner for me and my situation as a shooter. That's going to be different for everyone, so really consider what is going to be your shooting situation when you're capturing audio, how you're going to use the recorder when you're not doing video, and if there's some other features that you're going to need there. And I also really like that there are 2 different battery solutions for this unit, and that'll give me a little more flexibility for backup power when I'm in a mobile situation. So I've been really impressed with this unit, and I will definitely continue to do content and some more videos and articles on this going forward as I use it more, as I find little things here and there. But for me in my situation, I think I really do prefer this over the H4n. So I'll be using this more heavily in the future, and have been really impressed with this unit. If you guys have used either of these units, I'd love to hear your experience. You think I'm treating the H4n unfairly? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you think it has over the Tascam DR100 from your experience. Otherwise, check out DSLRvideoshooter.com for more reviews, more tutorials, and we look forward to talking to you guys over there.